Okay, we got this nice Disney podcast here. Just gonna pick it up. Gotta be really delicate with this podcast. Can't do anything. Oh no, Sydney.
What did you just do?
I dropped our Disney podcast and some other
great.
cartoons. The other cartoons.
You got all these other tunes all over our Disney podcast.
Yeah, there's cartoons and
animation. Did you keep the receipt for that?
No, I didn't.
Oh, great.
No, it's all covered in cartoons.
Well, now we gotta live
I'll
with
try to
it.
brush. I can't brush them off. They're already
Those
seeped
are
in.
expensive.
God.
What do you think, Disney podcasts just grow on trees?
No, I know.
Oh, great.
Hello, everybody. So, this is the...
Okay, great. Sorry.
Hello, everyone. Carter here.
Sydney here.
And this is the start of a sort of spin-off side series that we want to do. Because we realized while we bond a lot...
We talk about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we don't just talk about Disney in our free time.
We kind of talk about everything.
Yeah.
And all of it is equally as entertaining as our Disney talk.
Yes,
so...
It turns out we just love cartoons in general.
Yes, so in this new segment called In Other Toons, we're going to acknowledge all of the other universes out there.
Yes, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon.
Right.
Comedy Central if we're ever feeling sad enough. Anything we find on Netflix, any movies.
Right, yeah.
Just
to kind of expand our reach here.
Yeah, just to have some opportunities to...
And we've got a lot to say.
Get the hot scoops on everything.
Yeah.
Else.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So without further ado, In Other Toons.
In this episode of In Other Toons, we will be discussing the animated series on Cartoon Network called Craig of the Creek.
Yes, a relatively new show for the network that is in its first season. I believe there are only 25 episodes so far. It is sort of one of these new shows that Cartoon Network is working on as basically... You know, I hate to describe it in the context of other shows, but it feels like it's sort of like preparing for a post-Adventure Time world.
Yeah, I agree.
Because we're facing this moment in Cartoon Network where... You know, their big flagship shows that kind of kicked off their renaissance. Adventure Time, Steven Universe, Clarence, that sort of little bubble. Clarence has been gone for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Steven Universe seems to be rushing toward an end game. And Adventure Time...
We tried to forget about Uncle Grandpa.
Yeah, Uncle Grandpa is... Did it ever really exist?
No.
And now we're facing Adventure Time with its final episode coming up in... relatively soon, I think, around Labor Day.
Yeah, I think so.
And so this is one of the new shows that they've been pushing, and they've been promoting. And honestly, it is probably my favorite, or the one I'm most excited for.
Yeah. Out of the gate, I was very excited. And I mean, I hate to keep acknowledging, like, race, but it's like we're kind of at a pivot point with, like, our representation, and we're kind of at a point of, like, okay, now we're really starting to acknowledge that, like, other families and, like, other cultures that are outside of, like, white families and, like, white spaces exist and are quite, quote-unquote, normal. But, like, I mean, I hate to call it that, you know what I mean? But it's, like, we talk about race a lot, but, like, it's because we have to. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and so for this to be like, this is a black family, you know, and this is a black kid, a black boy who, like, black boys are, like, kind of like the least humanized people, where it's like they're encouraged to have the least emotions and sort of like the least feelings. Yeah. And so to have this sort of earnest child, like, be like a black boy, like, that's very important. So, so right out of the gate when I saw this, like, I was game. Like, I was like, yes, I'm excited. This is beautiful. Yeah. I want to see what it's about.
Yeah, I mean, I genuinely, other than, like, off the top of my head, I struggle to think of another show where, like, the lead of an animated kids TV show is a black boy. Yeah. Like, the only other one I can think of off the top of my head that has a black lead is Proud Family. Oh, yeah. And, yeah, which, like... How many, like, I feel like that kind of gets forgotten, but, like...
It does, but it was incredible for what, like, that, like, I gotta say, like, from the perspective of a black kid, like, to see yourself, like, you really do need to see like other people just like you and the Proud Family, like as well as Craig of the Creek. You know, I'm sure for the kids watching, it's like that's a family that's just like mine. Like, you know what I mean? Like this, like my mom acts like that, says that stuff. Like I have an older brother just like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like so this kind of representation that's like not like, oh, a black superhero, a black, you know, politician. Like this is just a black kid, a black kid family, right? Yeah, and that's important too.
Yeah. The basic premise of the show is he lives in like kind of this suburban town. Apparently it's in Maryland, which I did not know. And basically it's always framed like right after school. After school he meets up with his friends and hangs out in the creek, which is this huge area of like wilderness and like playgrounds and stuff where all the kids of the community basically live out like fun fantasy scenarios. They all have their cliques. Like, some of them are into, like, super high fantasy LARPing stuff. Some of them play D&D. Some of them run an underground, like, dystopian society in the sewers.
In the sewers, yeah, I saw that episode.
Some of them follow a religion based around a dog.
Worshipping a dog, yeah.
Who is, like, super helps them make decisions.
Right.
There's people who run, like, a trading outpost. There's, like, the Boy Scouts who have deputized themselves as, like, the...
the police,
like, the police of the community.
Right.
There's, like, the bullies and, like, the older kids. There's these 2 goth female teenagers who wear, like, raver clothes.
Yeah.
Honestly, and, like, while we're kind of on the topic of race, one thing I love about it is the fact that our main character, Craig, is kind of a nerd.
Yeah.
Like, you don't really get to see that, like... Because I feel like... And, you know, I'm a white person, so me talking about race, I might just be talking out of my ass. Feel free to talk over me. But, like, when you have so many few... like black characters in animation, they don't really get to have like a huge range of personalities.
No,
like the Proud Family was different in that because you had a whole family, so they all had different like quirks and twists.
The Proud Family, like if like I'm assuming a lot about the Craig of the Creek universe, but the thing about the Proud Family universe was like they lived in an urban-ish place where it was like their entire community was people of color, and Zoe, the one white girl, was the minority. So it was like black culture, and like everything was very hip-hop R&B, like everything, like there was like Wizard Kelly, like they lived in like a color-centric universe that was beautiful and that and I get the impression that Craig of the Creek being it's like, even though we see a lot of diversity in the neighbors and everything, it's still suburban, it's still white, suburban, and that kind of things being that like I'm a black kid that was raised in white suburbia, and so it's like I like this kind of like nerdiness, like that like you're allowed to lean into that in white suburbia, and so that's like that's where I feel like he gets that from, and even his older brother is a nerdy too, like I like that he's a nerd, like because the opening, his whole thing is him and his friends are kind of like fantasy adventurers. He has this like wizard staff made out of like a wood post and a crystal. Like the whole first episode's about him losing it and like going on a quest to retrieve it. His female friend Noelle is this like little girl who's made like a boffer sword out of like a PVC pipe, and she has like a fancy cloak and hood, and his other friend JP is just this like big like muscle dope, and like that's just such a cool, like getting to see like sort of like fanciful like things from like a non-white perspective is always exciting to me. That's one of the reasons why I love Black Panther, because it had so many different like, oh, you get to see, like, a superhero movie from a black perspective, but also kind of James Bond and a little bit of Lord of the Rings and just a pinch of Star Wars. And Craig of the Creek fills that on, like, a more, like, syndicated level, which is cool. No, for me, there's so many different things I could talk about what I like about the show. One, it's just really funny. Like the humor is really good.
They get a lot of humor out of like really deadpan visual gags. Like because they live in this really absurd kid logic. Where they have their lore and their universe and they just commit to it. And every now and then they'll drop all pretense and remind each other that it's like, oh, this is just a game. Like, you know, we go to school, like we do things. We were talking before that it reminds me a lot of Kids Next Door, but whereas Kids Next Door was like straight-faced of like, this is happening. There is actually a moon base that we will go to. This is like...
we're actual, like,
we're just kids. Agents, like, we go to school. For Craig and his friends, it's like, oh, we go to school. Like,
we're just
things.
playing.
This is just a game we do after school.
And it's also, like, I don't know about you, but it's like, used to play just like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And like I don't know, like I remember like I guess kids aren't so much like that, and maybe things will change because of Craig of the Creek. But like I think kids are going outside more, and for a while they weren't going outside. And like it sounds very it's like simple and almost like silly, but like I wonder if this will like remind kids that like outside is fun.
Yeah.
But it's like, but I used to be outside all the time and like in the wilderness, and like, you know, like there's like a creek out back in like my house and like a lake and everything, and we used to like be out there in the sticks, like, do you know what I mean, like playing games like this. And like I forget how fun it is like to be outside where like you can do anything. And like we used to like build like castle, or we used to like pretend like, okay, this tree and this tree is like the bedroom, and like these are the houses, and like, oh, I had the key to the house. Like I remember like we used to like really like get into these play scenarios like with nothing but outside stuff. Yeah,
like it's kind of nostalgic in that
it really
way,
is,
even though it's like it's super high def and like all their technology's modern. And like I just love how they personify everything. All these Rube Goldberg devices and like pulleys and like items they have.
Yeah.
There's a running joke. The Noelle has a bird called Mortimer, and it's just this quiet bird, and they get so much humor out of this bird. Like at one point, she raises up like a fist bump, and it just raises its feather. She has like this cool cloak and hood that has a smaller hood sewed into it for the bird. At one point, they go past the pet cemetery, and it's like, and there's a whole row of tombstones with just Mortimer with different numbers. Like, don't worry, Mortimer 23, you'll be different. And it just zooms in on the bird, and you just see a small sweat bead as the screen behind it goes black.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's just like I'm very much a fan of like that sort of like heightened absurdity stuff like that. Like I saw an episode, I was just watching a couple before we got here, where they're playing tag. And, like, when they get tagged, it's, like, this cosmic out-of-body experience where they're, like twitching.
Right,
and,
yes.
Their view, like, the background goes completely purple. It's just, like, it's wholesome and weird and fun.
Yeah,
I love how weird cartoons can be now.
Oh, yeah,
like,
right.
For a long time, they were trying so hard to be cool.
No,
and
I guess like Adventure Time really like opened that up, and even the regular show opened up like
that was the one I was
goofiness.
Yeah,
like goofy weirdness is like really cool. And like I have a cousin. I guess he's like 12 or 13 years old right now. But like, and like my family doesn't like understand. Like he'll like randomly like make weird noises. Like he'll like make a weird face at you.
Kids are weird. We need
Kids
to embrace that.
Kids are odd, but like he's like. It's very natural. Like, I don't know, like, when I see him do it, I'm like, yeah, like, I appreciate that he's, like, a little weirdo. Like, yeah, like, I understand that you do, like, and kids are super weird, especially little boys. Little boys are weird. Yeah. And, but it's, like, Cartoon Network has really, like, opened up that, like, availability where it's, like, you can be weird. Like, no one's gonna, like, you're allowed to be weird right now.
A lot of people complain that Cartoon Network kind of has a homogenized art style in many ways, which I disagree with for a number of reasons. But the one thing I do love about Cartoon Network is that, we started with Adventure Time and regular show as these, like, two gems that created this really unique house style. And while all these shows have a very similar tone in, like, this manic absurdity, straight-faced absurdity, where it's like, our worlds are crazy, but we live it every day, so we're kind of blasé about it at this point. And, like... everything is wild in this big adventure, and like the world could explode at any minute. It just feels so organic and like real to like how we feel. Right, yeah. It just feels very human in that sense. Right. And like we talk about like all the absurdity and stuff, but it's also like, I don't know, they just do a good job making every character feel superhuman. Like
like the older brother, like I get a kick out of him because it's like, I mean, we talk about like Craig being weird, but and like his brother, like, I think everybody's, like, had a friend with, like, an older sibling or has had an older sibling like that where it's, like, you think you're cool and you got your girlfriend around, but actually he's, like, he's, like, an advanced nerd.
Yeah, like he actually does, like, he invites people over and actually does homework. Right, and, like, it's like, you can't hide behind that cool haircut. We know, man.
Wait, was there a joke in that about Wuthering Heights? Like, I forget.
Oh, no, there was, and I'm blanking, and it's annoying me.
Yeah, where, like, the girlfriend, like, they came over to do, like, homework, and then she was like, I just have so much to say about Wuthering Heights. And I was like, this is so advanced. I was like, that joke is so funny. I was like, because there were, like, everybody in high school, there were kids like that. Like, you know what I mean? That thought they were, like, very thoughtful people. Like, and it's like, you all are weirdos.
Yeah. like there's so many things. Like I love how the characters like every now and then they'll have different outfits, which is nice because like shows never have that.
Yeah.
I love that the older brother. I forgot that his girlfriend is white, and that's never remarked upon. It's just how
its girlfriend is white, and even in the like fortune telling dog episode, the dog's owners, that's an interracial couple too. Yeah.
The fortune like.
That episode was funny.
Yeah, that was like it's hard to talk about the show without just going into all the different episodes, and we're trying to because we want you to watch it. Like we don't want to just spoil it all.
Yeah.
But there's an episode. I guess we can briefly explain it.
Right.
Where we realize Craig is super indecisive about everything.
Everything. Yeah. And, can't even decide what he wants for lunch.
We discovered this cult of Yeah,
he's approached by like some kind of prophet. Yeah.
Speaking of which, I love the design of his mom. I think she just looks gorgeous.
She's cool. Yeah.
She just has a cool design. And then she's like, "Sorry, you're getting turkey. You took too long."
Exactly. That was funny. Yeah. But anyway, so and
these
he gets
like for a dog.
He gets kind of like recruited into this like cult that like promises him that this dog, this little bulldog thing will help him. This adorable drooly bulldog helps make like divine decisions, and all the dog does like they just like hold up items and they're like, which one should I get a haircut? The little girl has like 2 Barbies and one has short hair and one has long hair, and then she's like, should I get bangs? And then the dog just like licks randomly like one, and then they think like it's like the magic conch episode of SpongeBob basically. Where they're like, the conch has spoken. Like they believe that this is like a divine dog, but it's like even like it acknowledges that this is fake, like, because, like, they're at somebody's fence, and then, like, the owners come out, and they're having their conversation, and it's one of the funniest jokes where, like, he realizes the kids are out there, and he goes, I thought I told you kids to stop worshiping our dog, like...
Yeah, it's just...
And it's, like, that's actually absurd and hilarious.
So
it's, like, that to think that, like, he regularly has to tell these kids not to make a religion about his dog.
Religion.
Exactly.
And I love the ending, I guess just to spoil this episode. Because they basically make a B plot out of the couple, because the wife wants to move into the city, and the husband the boyfriend is indecisive about it. He calls her, and it's like, will you marry me? She drives up, and it's like, you came back. Give me your phone. I'm deleting information. And the main high priestess of this dog is like, no, you have to help us. What are we going to do without you? The dog licks her face, and she goes, I have been chosen. I am the new prophet. And I'm just like, that's so good.
That's amazing.
Is so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a gorgeous looking show.
Yeah.
It's endlessly creative with its visuals. It has a fun universe that just basically has an infinite number of premises.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I guess the one big point I want to talk about is I effing love his sister. She's like maybe like 6 years old or
I
so.
Guess. Mm-hmm.
Hold on, I had the thingy listed. There's also a great reference to the Adventure Zone, which is one of my favorite podcasts, where these people are playing D&D, and their little like character pieces are the main 3 people from the Adventure Zone balance.
Mm-hmm.
Jessica, she's this kid who like is like super mature in her own way, like some kids are, where she's like, all right, I'm gonna put my coat here and my shoes here.
Right.
Just the tone of voice she has is so like genuine and believable.
She's at that age, and like I don't think like many shows lean into this, but it's like little girls, like I call it like the bitch phase, but like all little girls like go through, and there's like that pocket of time where you're like, it's like I call it peak bitch, where it's like you realize like you have an attitude, and like you can be very mean, and like I think it's like you lean into like the hormonal side of like being a woman, and it gets you like really like you have this bad attitude, but you don't realize the consequences of your of being mean to others, so like you kind of let it fly, and you're super mean, like not that she's like a villain or anything, but it's like they make it really funny that like this sort of attitude that she has.
And there's an episode where she joins Craig in the creek, and he's like super pedantic and annoying about it, because he's like, I don't want my sister here.
Mm-hmm.
And he says something like, you're such a stickler. That's the word. I was about to say shtickler, and I'm like, I mean, yeah, she has a shtick, but it's not. You're such a stickler. And she goes, I'm not a sticker. You are. And I'm like, that's some Rugrats stuff right there.
Yeah, that really is.
And then at the end of the episode, it's like, do you want to join us in the creek? No. It's just a really fun, wholesome show.
Oh my goodness.
It is it's a pleasant addition of diversity to the animated lineup.
Mm-hmm.
In general, I think Cartoon Network's killing it. Because We Bare Bears, obviously the show is about 3 bears, but like all of the background characters are always like super diverse, and
Right,
not just
yeah.
in skin tone, but in fashion. Like people have like
Doesn't someone have gauge? Like
yeah, people have gauges. People
Right,
have like
yeah.
saris and like
Oh
different
yeah.
like outfits.
Right.
At one point, when they make a bear, like they make a job of being Uber drivers, which is literally people just
Yeah.
riding on their backs.
Mhm.
They're like the car for a lesbian couple who just got married, and I'm like, that's so cool. Like,
Right, yeah.
I think Cartoon Network's doing a lot of really cool stuff, and I
Right.
think like a lot of people were wringing their hands at a post-Adventure Time Cartoon Network, but I think right now,
Right.
like they're in a really good place,
And
they're
like I
making some
wonder
really
if
exciting
like
things.
I wonder if like Cartoon Network's willingness to like lean into weirdness has given them like the freedom to act to be, I don't want to call it liberal, but like to actually represent what real life is like what real life is actually like, and like and the people that actually exist in the world,
Yeah.
because they've opened up this door of like
Yeah.
of weirdness. Yeah.
Where any idea is correct.
Right,
Any
exactly.
idea can be correct
Yeah.
if we know how to make it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. I think that basically covers anything unless
Right.
you have something to add.
No, it's a great show, and
We'd highly recommend it. It
Yes.
motivated us to add an entire subgenre to our show.
to our show, yeah.
Hopefully I'll get at least a couple of these cartoons off the darn podcast. But
well,
for
I
now,
don't know.
we'll see what we can do.
Okay.
Until next time, I'm Carter.
And I'm Sydney.
And that was the Toons.